Hello, hello, hello. Can anybody hear me out there? Just testing the audio for the stream. Be getting started very soon. All right, everybody. Welcome to, I guess this is my fourth live stream I've done now. I did 2 or 3, I think, on the previous series I had, which was the Kansas Jayhawks Dynasty. Unfortunately, I ended that series a little prematurely, but I know I did another live stream before I was even doing sports content, so if you want to count that one, I'll let that be your guys' decision. But I hope you all are excited today. As we are going to be doing the first offseason of the South Carolina Gamecocks Dynasty. Now, we did finish the year 10-3. We finished it ranked as well. I believe ranked 13th overall. I'm actually in the way here, so you guys are gonna see a little bit of the process here. I'm gonna move myself over to the right side for now, and then I will move myself back if I need to be moved back, because I want you guys to be able to see as much information on the screen as possible. How's everybody's day going? If you have been having a good Friday, I hope you will let me know in the comments, or I guess it's called the chat because it's a live chat. It's not really a comment. As far as around the league goes, I do want to go across. I mean, if you haven't been in any of these live streams before, I want to give you guys a little bit of a rundown of kind of how we do things. It's not just a short, get straight to the point, go through the offseason and that's it. I do like to reminisce and recap the season as a whole. I like to go through every game. I like to talk about, games that we maybe should have won, games that we probably should have lost, but we were able to pull it out. Talk about different performances. Talk about different players and people that have, basically performed better than we thought they would, especially in those later games. And here you'll get a look at the top 25 ending the season. Ohio State did end up taking a win in the national championship game. We will take a look at that, but they had themselves a magnificent 14-0 season. I think, their closest matchup really was an overtime game against a 6-7 Fighting Illini there in Illinois. So that's a very, very shocking thing to see. Ohio State was able to make it through the entire gauntlet this year. Miami, unfortunately for them, they get to the championship, but they fall out of the top 4. They are going to be 5 now, ending the season. As you can see, North Carolina, Texas, Oklahoma round out the top 4. Kansas finds their way up to number 6 after an impressive 12-2 season. We're going to look at their schedule a little bit. They did get demolished by TCU. Then they ended their season on a very bad loss to Texas. Texas, though, another team that was ranked pretty high. As you can see, they sit here at number 3. Arkansas rounds out the top 7 there at number 7. Then we got Georgia, Alabama, both of whom lost 2 games this season. And one of them for Georgia was Texas A&M, who finished the season unranked. So that's a little bit of a shocker. And then you go down here, and they dropped a late stinker there to the Kentucky Wildcats. And Alabama did have a chance for most of the season, but they dropped their final 2 games of the year. Auburn not only eliminated them from the championship contention with just a 5-7 record, they then went on to lose to Georgia in the conference championship game. They would beat Michigan in their bowl game. But rounding out the top 10, we have Michigan State. So out of the top 10, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion. Who do you think is the most surprising finishing out this top 10? I mean, it's pretty shocking, I'm not going to lie, to see Kansas in there. But then we've got Arkansas finish in the top 10. In real life, they're a team that was supposed to be very good. Ended up, not performing at the level we expected them to. But it's an interesting thing to see. Then we had Georgia and Alabama just barely rounding out the top 10 there at 8-9. and Michigan State finding their way back to the high rankings. We'll go through the rest of the top 25 fairly quickly. Mississippi State, UCLA, South Carolina there at number 13. Purdue, after a loss, falls all the way down to 14. Florida at 15. Virginia Tech at 16. And then we've got a couple unranked teams, or formerly unranked teams here in Washington and San Diego State. USC, the other USC, the fake USC, I guess you could say. Rounded out by Utah, Western Michigan, Oregon State, Boise State, Boston College, and Alabama Birmingham, who had an impressive season. I mean, 11-3 on the year is very, very impressive. Any notable teams that dropped out? I guess you could say Notre Dame dropped out, Michigan dropped out, and Oklahoma State dropped out. Army, I wouldn't really call them a perennial notable ranked team. As far as others receiving votes, we do have North Carolina State, Kansas State, Notre Dame, obviously, TCU, Florida State, and Washington State, all with a chance to be ranked early in next season if everything stays the same. And that is just the coaching poll, and the media poll is probably just about the same. As far as I know, we are actually 15th in the media poll, so we'll like the coaches poll a little bit more. As far as, being ranked. Conference standings, we'll give a look at that before we go through our season recap. I want to give you guys a chance to get in here into this live stream, and I thank anybody that's already here, anybody that is joining me in the next few minutes. I want to welcome you guys to the live stream, as you can see from the title, as I mentioned at the beginning. Offseason number 1, always a great building block, and the SEC East was very strong this year. Georgia took the top with 12-2 record, 8-2 in the conference. Florida very close behind them at 10-3, 7-2, and us very close behind Florida at 10-3 with 6-3 overall conference record. We maybe could have brought that down a little bit too if we had played better in a few of those lesser matchups. Tennessee rounded out the top 4 in this side of the conference with a 7-5 record, 4-5 overall. They did unfortunately in this game as well lose Hendon Hooker pretty early on. I don't think he played very much at all this season. Joe Milton played enough to throw 308 times, so that if that shows you anything, I think that compared to Spencer Rattler, he threw it just a little bit less, so that just shows how much Joe Milton was forced to play. Missouri rounding out the final 3 at 4-8 with the 2-7 record. Vanderbilt 3-9 with the 2-7 record, but somehow not the worst in the conference, as we have Kentucky finishing 4-8, but still worse in the conference side, or this division, as they finished the season 2-7 as well, with a loss to Arkansas, a loss to South Carolina. Us, we beat them. Lost to Bama, lost to Mississippi State. I was about to say Missouri State. That's not even a team in the FCS. Then they lost, or FBS. They lost to Missouri, they lost to Vanderbilt, and they lost to Tennessee. They did somehow beat Georgia in between all of these losses, and they also beat Florida at the same time. So Kentucky, while they didn't have a great year, if you're a Wildcat fan, you did knock 2 major teams out of the championship contention. On the western side of things, we've got the typical Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Texas A&M struggled, LSU and Auburn struggled heavily, and Ole Miss, do not be surprised if they fire their head coach Lane Kiffin after a season like this. 2-10 is not something to write home about. Overall, a very good season if you look at the ACC side of things. We'll start out with the Atlantic Division. They've got Clemson, Boston College, North Carolina State, Syracuse, Florida State, Louisville, and Wake Forest rounding it out. Wake Forest had themselves a very difficult season. I want to see what Sam Hartman got up to. He must have got injured because they have their backup quarterback starting, so we will look into that. I actually want to look into that and see what all happened with Sam Hartman. On the coastal side of things, they had 2 very competitive teams. On the Atlantic side, you don't really see a team that's competing. Clemson finished the season 9-5. They had a couple of tough losses there early on in the season, or later on in the season. They only had 1 major loss early in the season, and that was to Miami, the eventual championship competition. But they went on a very good, 7 game winning streak. Then they would take a loss to Georgia Tech. They were probably feeling very, very down coming out of that game. They would take a FCS win, then they would lose to the Gamecocks, thankfully winning that matchup, and then they would lose to number 5 Miami at the end of the season in the what I believe would be the ACC championship, and they would also lose to Florida in their bowl game, which we will look at the bowl games going later into the live stream. Hey, what's up? The man you shall call football. Welcome to the live stream. It's been a pretty decent day. I had to work this morning. Had a little bit of schoolwork to do, but thankfully I'm pretty much done for the weekend. So great time to live stream. Probably the best time I've had in a long time to live stream. How's your day been, man? Thank you for jumping in here, and I hope you stay for the whole thing. It's going to be a fun time. Right now, if you didn't catch the beginning of it, we're just going over and going through, all the different records and all the stuff this season. But yeah, we haven't really done too much. I know I've been live for 18 minutes, but a lot of that was just the little starting soon thing. But good to hear that you had a great day, man. Thank you for joining this live stream, and not really much going on in the ACC Atlantic side of things. And if you want to see anything particular, like stats wise for any team, just go ahead and send that in the chat below. I'm more than willing to look that up. We've got a lot of time here. I don't have really anything else I plan on doing in the next few hours. So we'll go to the American Conference, which isn't too important. UCF would finish that conference. That's 7-5 is the number one team, but then you've got a 9-4 team, but they both went 6-2 in conference. UCF must have had some crazy out of conference losses. They lost to Penn State, Oklahoma, and Navy, as well as SMU and Georgia. Yeah, they had themselves a tough schedule. Army rounded out this top two spots, and you got Charlotte, SMU, Memphis, Navy, Southern Florida, Temple, Florida Atlantic, Old Dominion, Cincinnati, to round out the final. As you can see, the Bearcats fell off the face of the planet with Desmond Ridder gone. It'd be interesting to see and keep up with them and see if they can get back on the map, because it's going to be a big jump from the bottom of that division. And just playing Madden with your friends. I haven't been a huge fan of the last few Maddens. They've been okay. Madden 23 I haven't played at all, really. I played Madden 22 a little bit, and it was an okay experience, but I've always been more of a classic Madden guy. But I think I probably still would say I enjoy NCAA 14 more than Madden. Not that it really matters too much, but I just do. And now we'll go to the Big 12 side of things here in the North Division. You've got Oklahoma and Kansas finishing basically tied with the Sooners. They did have one conference loss there to Texas, which I believe would be the conference championship game. Outside of that, they just had the one to TCU. Oklahoma State there at 5-3 in the conference. Kansas State, Baylor, Iowa State. In the North-South, we're going to have Texas, TCU, Texas Tech, Houston, BYU, and West Virginia. That couple stinkers down here in BYU and West Virginia. But other than that, a fairly productive conference. TCU 9-4 in the season, but 4-4 in conference play. They could have had a much better showing if they would have just basically won any of these conference games. I mean, look at that start. Taking down LSU to start the year. I know they didn't finish great, but LSU is still a good opponent. Then you've got SMU to round out that win streak. But they really didn't do too much later in the season, and TCU fell off the face of the planet. Now we have the Big Ten. The leaders side of things, I've never really understood that, but as we saw, Ohio State undefeated completely. Unfortunately, nobody ever wants to see Ohio State win a championship. That's just my opinion, but I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. Michigan especially doesn't want to see it, but they finished 8-5 with a 7-2 record. They really struggled outside of the conference, losing to Oklahoma. They lost to Notre Dame in that rivalry game. They also lost to Alabama. And yeah, that would be about it as far as out-of-conference losses. But they did really well in conference. Good enough to actually beat Michigan State out in the conference race, because they were able to basically dominate their conference play. They just couldn't win out-of-conference matchups. Purdue at 6-3 in the conference, 9-4 overall. Penn State, Indiana, and Rutgers rounding out the finals. Next, we'll go to the Legends, as we just are going to fly through these next few conferences. Nebraska, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Maryland, Northwestern, and Iowa. A very bad showing for this side of the conference. They only had a few teams over 500. I mean, look at that. 2 teams finished over 500 overall. I mean, you've got teams that technically were 500 because 6 and 7 is 500. And when you end the regular season, but just not a good showing for the Big Ten side of things right there. We'll go to the CUSA, UAB, East Carolina, Louisiana Tech, Mid-Penn State, and Marshall. As I said, go ahead and comment or send a chat if you want me to slow down, if you want to see anything in particular. We're just going to go through these, and then we'll probably get into like the awards and stuff. On the western side of things in the CUSA, we have Tulane, North Texas, UTEP, Rice, Southern Miss, and UTSA. I want to see what Frank Gore was up to. Apparently he didn't play that much because he is not on that side of things. The Independents should be only Notre Dame. They did have themselves an interesting season, to say the less. They finished 8-5. The MAC Conference, Bowling Green, Kent State, Akron, Miami, Buffalo, and Ohio. Then we go over to the western side of things. Western Michigan, Ball State, Toledo, Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, and Northern Illinois. And welcome into the live stream. Anybody else who is here, I want to say that periodically so you don't feel like you're not being noticed. Welcome. Thank you for joining. And I hope you stay for the long haul. It's going to be a fun night. We are just going over some standings and such. We're getting to the final few conferences. The Mountain West Conference is Boise State, Air Force, Utah State, Colorado State, Wyoming, and New Mexico. And what is my prediction for the Gamecocks? Do you mean next year or in this? You mean real life next year or in this Dynasty series next year? I can give you both. Just in case, but I think next year in real life a good prediction would probably be a solid we won we finished the season with 9 wins this season. I think we finished 9-4. Am I wrong on that? Let me check real quick. I could be. We may have had 8 wins, but I do think we finished with 9. I can't remember exactly. Let me look it up. Sorry, you'll hear me typing. So yeah, we finished with 8 wins. We finished 8-5. I forgot. I think if we keep the same pattern, if we keep, going up every year, it's very possible that we could hit 10 wins next year. Honestly, going into it right now, the conference or the schedule looks easiest next year than it has been in a very, very long time. But there's a lot of dependence on it. There's a lot of whether Spencer Rattler is going to play at that level like he did at the end of the season, or whether he kind of starts out slow like he did this last year, which obviously would be worst case scenario. We also have a good bit of weapons to replace. We're losing Marshawn Lloyd. I think we have an opportunity, as I said, to win 10, and I do think 9-3 would be a very good prediction, at least going into the bowl season. And as long as we are able to get 9-3 without having any major blowouts, keep it competitive with guys or teams like Georgia, keep it competitive with Clemson, maybe win again. Best case scenario, keep it competitive with Florida, keep it competitive with Tennessee, all those other ranked teams that we play. I'll be very happy with a 9-3 season. I'd like to hear anybody else out there, if you guys have a prediction for their IRL season next year. It would be very interesting to watch at the very least. I'm excited to see what happens. Probably one of the first times in a while I'm this excited going into a Gamecock season. Unfortunately, we have a long time to go for that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about the next season. There's a lot of what ifs with the transfer portal, and I mean, obviously not playing in the swamp against Florida is a very good opportunity, but with this team, you can never be quite sure how they're going to play. Sometimes they can be so inconsistent, and it's just crazy to watch sometimes. Let's get back into the Midwestern Conference with San Diego State, San Jose State, Fresno State, UNLV, Nevada, and Hawaii rounding out the Midwest Conference. And now probably, I guess, the last major conference, since we already went through the SEC, we have the Pac-12, a team that a conference that has yet to find success in the playoff era. Maybe they can find some success in the BCS era still here in this Dynasty series. We have Oregon State at the number 1 spot. We have Washington, both of the Washington teams, Washington and Wazoo. They are 9-4, 5-4 for the Cougars, however. Oregon finished the year 5-7. They had a very, very tough showing. Bo Nix might be back in the transfer portal if he does not graduate and leave at 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Stanford at 4-8. They have not had a great football program in a while, probably since Andrew Luck, in my opinion. California, a team that has struggled as well in the last decade or so, finishing the season 4-8. In the final conference division, we have UCLA, USC, Utah, Arizona State, Arizona, and Colorado. No Deion Sanders for the Buffaloes this time around, but maybe they will still find themselves a new head coach. And like I said, that will round out the major conferences. We'll actually skip out our, we'll just go ahead and look through the final 2 conferences, which I believe will be the Sun Belt divisions. As you can see, Troy ran away with this one in Division A. Georgia State, Arkansas State, South Alabama, Texas State, and Louisiana there. And on top of that, we have App State, Western Kentucky, Georgia Southern, Liberty, Louisiana Monroe, and Coastal Carolina Chanticleers there at 3-9. They unfortunately were not able to replicate the success they have had in real life, and that is going to round out the conference standings. We will go now to the Heisman Trophy winner. And I would like to get your guys' predictions in this series. Who do you guys think won the Heisman Trophy? I haven't kept up with a lot of the stats. I haven't showed you guys a lot of the stats in this dynasty, and that's what this live stream's for right now. But, oh man. Interesting to see who this Heisman winner is going to be, and it is Tyjae Spears for the Tulane Green Wave. That is very, very shocking. He finished the year 281 rushing attempts, 1,700 yards. He had about 6 rushes per carry, 123 yards per game, 20 touchdowns, 79 longest rush for the season. He had about 300 yards after first contact in 5 20-yard runs or more. Receiving wise, he had 16 catches, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns. And did he have anything outside of that? He had no tackles, so his quarterback must not have been throwing interceptions. And he returned anything? Let's see. He did have a good bit of returns. He didn't get any touchdowns, unfortunately, for himself, but he is able to take home a couple of trophies there. Next up, we have Travion Henderson from Ohio State. Jalen Daniels, surprising to see here. He finished the year 29 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And here we have Marshawn Lloyd, who in this series is still a Gamecock unless he transfers. He did finish the year. Let's see how many carries this guy had. He had more carries than Marshawn Lloyd, who had a lot less yards, obviously. But he finished the year 19 touchdowns. He didn't have any passing. We didn't pull out the trick plays a ton. Marshawn Lloyd did have 35 catches, 3 touchdowns, and he had a pretty well-rounded season. I don't think he really ever returned kicks for us, though. So that is kind of something that probably hurt him. And Blake Corum, another guy that, as you know, in real life was a Heisman contender, kind of got snubbed from it. But he had a good season as well, as he finished with 1,800 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns, probably what held him back, especially considering Tyjae Spears had 20 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, you said your dark horse playoff team is FSU. I could see that. I mean, they got Jaheim Bell from the Gamecocks. Jaheim is a very impressive talent, in my opinion. So they have a lot of talent on that roster. Jordan Travis is coming back. They've got some good transfers coming in. They've got a lot of opportunity there in, Tallahassee. So it wouldn't be shocking to me if the Seminoles there were able to pull something off. They're one of the better teams in the ACC. And what's up, Mr. Graves? Welcome in. We're just finished going through the conference standings, so you really didn't miss a lot. If you didn't catch the Heisman winner, we had Tyjae Spears. And, of course, my controller decides it's going to try and die on me here. I swear it was charged, but it says it's charged, but it just died. So maybe this old 360 controller is giving out on me. Excuse me there. But yeah, all Americans now, as we are going to get to this, we just going to look for any Gamecock players. Jordan Birch, unfortunately, who in real life did transfer, as most of you will know. He was an All-American first team. Then we had Darius Rush as well on the first team, and nobody else. Or Amarion Brown was there also on the first team as a kick returner. Second team, did we have anybody? We had a few people on second team. Defensive tackle, Zach Pickens. Cam Smith as strong safety. And, man, we didn't have a single offensive player. Dang, that's crazy. We didn't have a single offensive player on any of the All-American teams. We'll go through and look at a few of the all-SEC teams. We have Marshawn Lloyd there on the all-SEC first team. Jahmyr Gibbs was able to make an appearance for the Crimson Tide. We had a lot of people on this list. Did we miss anybody? Marshawn Lloyd, Jordan Burch, Zach Pickens, Cam Smith. And yeah, that would be about it. Second team, though, we had Jaheim Bell, who had a productive season. Then we go down here, and we also had MJ Webb, who is a senior. Unfortunately, we had Mokaba, who's a junior, thankfully, and that would round out our places on these all-NCAA teams. If you want to go through the rest of these teams, I will just go through them very quickly. You can just pause at any point in time just to see who exactly is on there. Yeah, poor Spencer. He really didn't have a great year once we get into the stats. He had an okay season. Basically, like real-life Spencer Rattler, he had his very, very lows and his very, very highs. Maybe he got an award or something. We don't know just yet. Here's the all-Big Ten team. Man, look at the Ohio State domination there. As Ohio State basically just controlled. This is basically just Ohio State's starting lineup here. I mean, you've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8... 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 people from Ohio State here on the first team. And then they do not. Michigan State just took over the second team. But I mean, if you add up the other players, Ohio State have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more people on the second team. That's domination by the Buckeyes there. And as you remember, they went on to win the national championship this season. And here's the Big 12 first team, Big 12 second team. And we're going to skip over. I'm imagining Notre Dame is the all-independence team because they're the only independent team. And yeah, we're just going to skip over the not really major conferences here. You have the all Pac-12. Nobody really making a big appearance here. You've got a few cool guys. I know Mr. Graves out there will appreciate the fact that Bo Nix did not make any of these all-American teams because he had himself a pretty bad season. Yeah, he missed out on a lot of those accolades. Hopefully Spencer Rattler's good next year. He seemed to get his confidence going on late in the season, but you really never know with that type of stuff. I mean, it's just, you really can't predict it. I mean, if we're being honest, who would have predicted him going from as good as he was his first year at Oklahoma to as bad as he was that second year? I think there's a lot of maturity issues with Spencer Rattler originally. So I think it's not too shocking to see his maturity grow. But yeah, hopefully he's going to be good next year. I think we're all hoping for it. And here we have the Maxwell Award, which I believe goes to the best player in the country, but it's not the Heisman Award. Jalen Daniels won that one, and we did have Marshawn Lloyd there at last place. Walter Camp Award goes to the best running back. We had Tyjae Spears with Marshawn Lloyd there at number 9. I guess it can just go to the best rusher in the country in general because there can be quarterbacks on it. Trenton Simpson's going to win Bednarik, which I believe is best defensive player. I believe, don't quote me on all of these. We had a few guys on there. Nagariski, which is best defensive lineman, I believe. Defensive lineman, maybe defensive lineman and linebacker. Jordan Burch took that one, and we had nobody else on there. Now we have the O'Brien Award, which is best quarterback. Spencer Rattler, nowhere to be found on that. Max Duggan, as I'm sure most of you are not surprised, as the man who shall call football. Max Duggan, he had a great year, both in real life and in this reality. He finished 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Unfortunately for him, TCU wasn't quite as good, and they also thankfully didn't have to get embarrassed by the Bulldogs like they did, man. I mean, that was probably the worst football game I have watched since the Broncos-Panthers Super Bowl. It was just, I turned it off by halftime. And now we have the Doak Walker Award, which might be best running back as well. And you have Marshawn Lloyd at 7, Tyjae Spears at number 1. Not really surprising. Belac Smemes, which I believe is best receiver. We did not have anybody even close to winning that one. Caleb Ducking from the Mississippi State Bulldogs won that one. Then we have Mackey, which is best tight end. We did have Jaheim Bell, placed 12th in the country. Outland, which is going to be best offensive tackle. Nobody there for us. Best center is going to go to Sincere Hainsworth. What a name right there, Sincere Hainsworth. And then we have Olusegun Oluwatimi. Just some great names. John Michael Schmitz Jr., Ricky Stromberg. The center position is full of very, very fun names, apparently. Lombardi Trophy, which is best defensive lineman. Jordan Birch was able to win that one. Best linebacker is Trenton Simpson. Then we have Brad Johnson was able to make an appearance. Unfortunately, he's a senior, so he will be gone after this year. Best safety, Darius Rush made an appearance. Unfortunately, he's gone. And Cam Smith made an appearance, but unfortunately, he may be gone depending on whether he gets drafted or not, but he has a chance to come back. And then we're going to get to the kicker. Mitch Jeter's not going to be on here in this dynasty, but in real life, he would be. Unfortunately for us, I am not good at kicking at all. The best punter is going to not go to anybody for us, and the best return man is Amarion Brown. So him and Jordan Birch really carried this team. As far as awards go, then we're going to get to, we'll go through the bowl games real quick. I'm not really going to stop and talk about many of them, just to see what all happened. You've got, there's so many bowl games, way too many bowl games. I think they should just bring all the bowl games maybe in half because you have so many teams making a bowl game. I think you have some 5 and 7 teams in real life making bowl games, and we're going to get down here to some of the more interesting ones. Like us in the Gator Bowl, we were able to take out the Cornhuskers. If you missed that video, Michigan lost to Alabama. Arkansas took down Purdue, who was ranked at one point. I know that. and that was in the Outback Bowl. The Rose Bowl, Oklahoma took down Oregon State. What do you guys think about Oregon State? They, I believe they took down Florida in their bowl game, and I believe they dominated them. They beat them. Let's see. I want to see what the final score was, because I know they beat them pretty handedly. Yeah, so they beat Florida 30-3. That was a pretty shocking game, in my opinion. I mean, Oregon State was good, but I think people really underestimated them. So it's just a weird bowl game to have in real life. Texas took down Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. I think that used to be a rivalry matchup. They used to play every once in a while. Georgia UCF is a interesting matchup, but the Golden Knights were not able to take down the Bulldogs. And you have North Carolina beating up on Michigan State. Mississippi State losing to Kansas by 1 point. Louisville beating and destroying Kent State. Any other interesting games? And as I said, Miami taking down Ohio State in the national championship game. And here we go. Time for what we all waited for, the season stats. And then we will get into the games that we played. And then we will get into the, actual off-season here. Which is why I like to call this the off-season / recap live stream. I don't know if I titled it that, but it is what it is. Dak Joyner, 17 of 27. Unfortunately, he is a senior, and I'm going to miss his play so much. I'm going to really miss having this guy back there. 17 of 27, 321 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but he had some very, very good passes. He had a 75-yarder. Spencer Rattler had a 75-yarder as well for his longest, and as you can see, Spencer Rattler, the Rattler, 225 completions, 365 attempts, 3,000 yards. Very impressive there. 29 touchdowns, but also 19 interceptions. That single-handedly lost us some games there. If you go down here, Colton Gautier had basically 2 of 3, 40 yards, and Luke Doty, 5 of 11, 40 yards, and 2 interceptions. Was not impressed at all with Luke Doty's showing, but would not be surprised if he transfers in this dynasty, at least because he has not got a lot of playing time. And yeah, I do actually, to answer your question, I do remember the UCF fake natty, because I remember vividly, that was when they had, what was his name? McKenzie, whatever his name was. But he had, they had printed out the actual national championship shirts. I do remember that. Yeah, Spencer Rattler just like Jameis Winston, 30 touchdowns. He should have went. We should have thrown more interceptions. We should have had 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. But he had a good season still. Hopefully next year, just like in real life, he can be a little bit better. Marshawn Lloyd on the rushing side of things carried us a ton. Glad to have him for 2 more years. He had 19 touchdowns, about 1,200 yards. Christian Beal-Smith, 55 carries, 263 yards. We will have to replace him as a backup running back. That's going to be a little bit hard to replace. He had 3 touchdowns on the year. Dak Joyner with 3 rushing touchdowns. Spencer Rattler, 2 rushing. Juju McDowell hopefully will be able to fill in that Christian Beal-Smith role a little bit better than we expected him to this season. If he doesn't transfer, that would be very, very, very helpful if he stays around. Antoine Wells Jr., thankfully. Yes, CBS's average yards per carry is a little too high. It would be better if it was more around like 1 or 2. I don't think we want it to be too unrealistic. So I think next year, whenever I have a guy like him, he'll be gone. But my backup running back like Juju, maybe a few plays I'll just run backwards for like a loss of 15 yards. That would be interesting to say the least. It would at least keep the games interesting. Juice Wells, 48 for 885 yards, 8 touchdowns there. Josh Van, 6 touchdowns on the season. We're going to be losing a lot of these receivers, though. Juice Wells should be back. Josh Van will be gone. Let's see who else. Xavier Legette's gone. Amarian Brown's gone. Christian Beal-Smith is gone. De'Kerion Joyner's gone. Austin Stogner's gone. Jalen Brooks is gone. Man, we are going to be losing a ton of wide receiver play this year. And that's going to be tough to replace. I'm not even going to lie. But as you can see the stats here, not a lot of crazy stats. Nobody broke the 1,000-yard mark. Antoine Wells Jr. was very close, though. Blocking-wise, we did allow a lot of sacks. I'm not even going to lie. We had a few guys there that just weren't good at all. Defensively, we had Cam Smith total in 79 tackles. 69 solo, 10 assisted, 10 for loss, 1 sack, and 2 interceptions on the year. I don't think he had a touchdown, but he also had a forced fumble and 3 deflections. And who else had an interception on the season? We'll have to see. Darius Rush, didn't even realize he had 5 interceptions, and he also totaled in 2 touchdown returns off of those interceptions. So he was definitely a big, big play this year. And other than that, we had Jordan Burch with an interception and Marcellus Dial, as well as Jordan Strawn with an interception. So we had a good bit of, we basically spread around the love, and Marcellus Dial was able to get another, interception there, or another touchdown there for the defense. But let's see what all the sacks were about. Jordan Burch, 14 sacks. Zach Pickens, 7. MJ Webb, 4. Jordan Strawn, 4. Sherrod Green, 4. Mo Kaba, 1. And then we had a bunch of guys with just 1 sack on the season. So that was a bit of an interesting side of our defense. We were maybe not the greatest passing defense, but we did get to the quarterback when we needed to. So hopefully we can keep that in mind. And as you'll see, it correlates directly pretty much with tackles for loss. Mo Kaba, only 1 sack, but he had 12 tackles for loss. So he was a very, very good part of this offense or this defensive unit. Then we have Mitch Jeter, 5 of 11. Just don't look at this. It didn't happen. Never happened. We'll move on to next season. It's not like I missed 6 field goal attempts. And 3 extra points on the season. Never happened, I can assure you. And, our kicking game is going to be just fine. He was a great kicker for us this year. And yeah, the Missouri game, I believe, was the one where Marcellus Dial intercepted it in the end zone. Or Darius Rush did. I can't remember which one, but that was a very, very fun game to play. I'd have to say in my time playing NCAA on the YouTube, I've had a lot of very exciting games between this and my Jayhawk series so far, but that was maybe the best yet. I did have the, what was it? I think in my first year in the Jayhawk series, if you'd like to go check that out after this live stream, I believe we were playing an FCS team, which is surprising that the game was that close, but I know it went into overtime, and we actually won off of a pick 6. I was very bad with that team at that time. We had our best quarterback I think Mr. Graves was watching around that time as well, but correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Jason Bean was the starting quarterback in that game because Jalen Daniels got benched in like the second week or something like that. But that was a very, very exciting game. If you'd like to check that series out, it was a fun series while it lasted. So I really don't have a lot of hatred for that series. Amarian Brown did put in 2 touchdowns in the kick return game and 1 in the punt return game. And before we actually get into the, what will it be, the team stats, I'm going to run and grab me a drink because I am out of water completely. So I'll be right back. And let me see if I can get that pretty quickly. All right, and I am back. Sorry about that. I had to get me some, not sponsored body armor, but yeah, so I do want to get into the team stats, and then we will get into the actual offseason. As you can see, our offense, one of the best in the country. Passing-wise, we were top 10 as well, and rushing-wise, we weren't quite there. We were very lackluster on the running game. And defensively, as you can probably imagine, we're probably like dead last in passing yards. Yeah, there's something about this game, and I mean, I'm sure you guys have experienced it as well. You just cannot play pass defense. It doesn't work. You can't do it. I mean, I have tried anything to stop the passing game, and you can't do it. I mean, pretty much every Dynasty I play, I'm dead first in rushing yards. I stop the run consistently. Just can't stop the passing game for whatever reason. I can't do it. Like, they'll throw for 75-yard touchdowns just because they want to, it seems like, no matter what I do. And I mean, the sacks obviously aren't the problem because we were up there in sacks. We were top 15 in sacks, tied at least for top 15. We had a good amount of turnovers forced. We forced a good amount of interceptions. Maybe not, like the most, but an average amount. So I just don't understand it completely because I struggle with it so much. But for whatever reason, you can't stop the passing game. I'm not entirely sure. It is what it is at this point. It's not realistic, but also at the same time, we're still winning games, so I can't complain. I don't think we had any records broken. Jordan Birch had the most sacks in a season with 14, so I believe he probably broke either Eric Norwood or Jadeveon Clowney. I'm going to think that's Eric Norwood. Norwood. Why do I keep saying Orwood? I believe that's going to be Eric Norwood, who did have the rushing sack record. But other than that, we did not have any records broken. And that is going to take us into the actual simulation time. We went through everything. We're going to go to the end of the season, which should take us right into the offseason, thankfully. Hopefully the simulation doesn't take too long. As you can see, we've got some prospects we're going after pretty heavily. So, end of the season here, 10-3. Yeah, 10-3. We are pretty safe in our contract, I think it's safe to say, and we are going to look at the coaching carousel a little bit. I have no intentions of changing teams, so we should be good, in my opinion, as far as, looking at this, but I just want to watch it and see what happens. First up, we are going to have Auburn, who was 5-7. Brian Harsin, who I think got fired in real life, is going to be gone. Gets the can. He is going to be his place is going to be taken by Andy Avalos, the Boise State head coach. After going 11-3, is going to move over to Auburn. And we're just going to go through these first few a little bit, and then we'll simulate to the end. North Carolina is Mac Brown retired, so they are going to hire Kevin Wilson, Ohio State's offensive coordinator. We have North Carolina on the schedule next year. That should be interesting. Ohio State's coming off of an undefeated national championship season, and they are getting their offensive coordinator. That's a great hire. I'm not even going to lie. Mickey Joseph is extended after an okay season, 8-6. We did play them in the bowl game. And apparently Pitt thinks they're going to offer me a contract I promise you I'm not accepting. But they do get Pete Golding, who is Alabama's defensive coordinator. And now we're just going to skip to the end. We'll go to the end of the coaching carousel, as we're just going to go ahead and look at, what's happening. Basically who goes where. Are you going to make the non-conference schedule? I'm going to try and do a couple of realistic games and then some other games that you don't really see too much, but I do want to include North Carolina again. So that should be probably our first game of the season, I would imagine. Let's see if there's any high-profile coaches. Drinkwitz at Missouri gets fired, and they're going to bring in Bowling Green head coach Scott Loeffler after a 10-4 season. So that should be interesting to check out. Sean Aguano extended after a 6-7 season. Colorado is going to bring in they're going to extend Mike Sanford. As I said, no Deion Sanders for the Buffaloes, so no overhaul. Iowa is going to have Kirk Ferentz retire after going 2-10. Golly, look at that offense. 63 overall offense, 87 overall defense. They were competent on offense. They would be dominant. Ole Miss is going to fire Lane Kiffin. Not surprised really after seeing that record, but Brian Vincent with a 5-year contract there. And he is coming over from the Alabama Birmingham Dragons, is that what they're called? Something like that. Kentucky fired Mark Stoops, and he is going to be replaced by head coach from Troy, John Sumrall. Previous head coach hired by Iowa. I didn't see that. Yeah, I was going to say it didn't look like Iowa hired him, but maybe they hired him as like an offensive coordinator or something. Let's see. We can go down here, and we can see all the coordinator positions. South Carolina is going to what are the odds? I had no control over this. I had no control whatsoever. What are the odds they hire Steve Spurrier Jr. in place of Marcus Satterfield? I promise y'all, I had nothing to do with this. You can't even control this. Steve Spurrier Jr. is... Oh my gosh, that is... I have never heard of that before. Never seen that before. I've never seen something like that happen. Oh, well, I guess... Yeah, I knew Steve Spurrier Jr. existed, but I didn't know he was an offensive coordinator. I didn't know he was going to be coming to the team, apparently. Golly. I mean, just like, what are the odds of that happening? And they replaced him with a very bad guy from Syracuse. Yeah, I mean, I must have staged it. I mean, if I was going to stage it, you know me, I would have made it like Jake Bentley or something like that, offensive coordinator. Because I'm always been a huge fan of Jake Bentley. And yeah, Iowa did hire Mark Stoops as their defensive coordinator. So it would be interesting to see there if Iowa can kind of make a turnaround, because they have a completely new staff. So I'm pretty excited to see that going forward. As we're about ready, I think we're ready to move on from the coaching carousel and see the players leaving. And this would be like draft and graduates as well. I just can't believe the odds that the game automatically makes Steve Spurrier Jr. the offensive coordinator. And it's not like his alma mater is even connected to the Gamecocks. I believe it said he was from Duke. So Yeah, I really don't know. We don't need to look at coaching changes. We just saw that. Players leaving, though, is going to be very difficult. Yeah, we've got a few guys wanting to go. It's going to be tough to convince some of them to come back. But a guy like Ryan Brubaker, I would very much like to come back. And yeah, he's going to move on. Tanner Bailey. Oh, man. I know, if only I had an Iowa fan watching, but he would be very happy at the moment. We have Jaheim Bell leaving for the draft. Gosh, that hurts a lot. And we have a few other guys graduating down here. And then we also have, man, should we try and bring Tanner Bailey back? I'm debating between it. We've got some other people, but I really can't promise him playing time. So we're going to have to let him walk, if we're being honest with ourselves. And Jaheim Bell could promise him or try to get him back. But since he left in real life, I think I'm going to let him leave. What do you guys think the best decision on that would be? I want to try and get him back because he's our starting tight end, but at the same time, it feels kind of cheap if I bring him back because he's projected to get drafted pretty high. The 5th round, at least, is decently high. So, yeah. I guess we're going to let Jaheim Bell walk. Ryan Brubaker is going to be gone. Tanner Bailey is going to be gone, as well as everybody down here. Yeah, we're losing Stogner too, and I want to let's look at the roster real quick. I don't exactly remember, and I can't even see the roster yet. Dang, I can't see the roster. I wanted to see what other tight ends we have on our roster, but yeah, Stogner in real life and in the game just didn't really have a place to, you know. I would say he really didn't find his place in the offense. We'll see. It says his persuasion chance is high, so I'm just going to go with something like that. And yeah, it's pretty easy. He is going to stay. Jaheim Bell is back, thankfully, so we are going to be able to get him at least this final year, his senior year. And now we'll go ahead and go to the transfer request. Now, in this game, I'm sure most of you know, transfer requests weren't really what they were now. You can't really go into the transfer portal. So it's just basically an algorithm. 2nd round pick, Josh Van. 6th round pick, Zach Pickens. 7th round pick, Dylan Wanham. And 7th round pick, Austin Stogner. Yeah, Tanner Bailey transferred in this game. He unfortunately just wasn't going to be able to get enough playing time. And man, we're going to actually get transfers. Man. We are going to get transfers. It's been a while since I've gotten transfers in this game. So we're going to get 2 freshmen. Justin Birdsong from South Carolina, Homeland Park, South Carolina, a freshman, 74 overall. And Albert Reese, the 4th, I think is what that is. A right tackle at a 78 overall who will pretty much instantly jump into the starting lineup. That is a big get right there. I don't think you guys understand how big of a get that is because sometimes you get no transfers at all. Sometimes you get 20 transfers in one offseason. It's really hit or miss as far as that goes. Yeah, I must have promised them some sweet NIL deals. You're probably right, Mr. Graves. I must have gave them, slid them a little bit of money underneath the table right there and asked them to come over to the Gamecocks. Do I have a skill upgrade? Let's go ahead and see if I do. I do not have a skill upgrade. And my controller wants to turn off again. It's just going to keep going. So excuse that for a second. There we go. Finally, it caught back up. I probably got him a deal with like McDonald's or something like that. How many scholarships left do we have? We have 13 scholarships remaining right now. Our class is not that good, to say the least. We've got 3 4-stars, 6 3-stars, 0 2-stars, and 1 1-star prospect. But we do have 13,000 to allocate between all of these prospects left over. And we will look at our class so far. We've got Rory Patrick, a very big defensive end prospect, defensive tackle Jamal Wilson, Steve Spencer, Tyler Upshaw, Jimmy Lucas there for the fullback position, Julius Canary, a JUCO athlete, but he's a 77 overall. Supposedly now, if you were around for my Jayhawks series, you'll know that I did do scouting. Like, if you go over here and you use your points to scout. But in this dynasty, I'm not doing that. I am only, recruiting the players, and we'll know what their overalls are when they get on campus. I don't want to know their overalls right now. I want to know their overalls when they get on campus, because that way it's pretty much a much bigger surprise than you could expect. Overall, we are not really... I don't really know who to go after here. We have a lot of good pieces, but no offensive linemen or anything. But we don't really have a lot of big names up here. So I think I'm going to focus on the pieces that I want to the most. And then we'll go after some other guys, hopefully with our leftover points. First off, I think Brian Huffman is... I apologize that you can't see the name. I think Brian Huffman's probably our number one priority, as he is a center. So I'm going to give him a good amount of points there. Probably about... We'll go 2,250. Chad Stevens is another big hitter there out of Florida, a 70, I say, lightly receiver. Unfortunately, we are trailing on him right now, so I'm going to give him a good amount of points. I'm probably going to up him to about 3,000, I would say. And then I will also actually up Brian Huffman to about 3,000. Because I really want to get those guys. I think they could play a very big role in this offense. We have Brandon Hammond, a guy from Barnwell, South Carolina. Very competitive there is Clemson going after this guy. So we're going to give him about 1,500. If we get him, good. If we don't, we have other pieces. Stephen Moss, a 4-star quarterback I would like to bring in. He's supposed to be a scrambler. Maybe he can take that Dakereon Joyner spot. If not, we have other pieces that we can, or other places we can fit him in at, thankfully. So I'm not going to put a ton of points into him just yet. I'll probably just give him 1,000. Hope something happens, but if not, it's not the biggest deal. And we also have guys down here that we didn't really go after too heavily. We got, let's see who else we have. Patrick Morris is a guy I would like to get, so we're going to give him 2,500, I would say. He is from Georgia, so he's a pretty big prospect out of that state at the minimum. So we're going to go after him and get us up to an 11,000. Chris Dobzinski, we'll just give him a solid 700 to 800 points, because he doesn't really have a lot of competition there. Quentin Beck, a 62 overall. We'll just give him about 700 points. Not that we're actually going after him too crazy. Greg Riley, just in case we don't get... Yeah, we actually did get a tight end prospect already, but we have leftover points, so I will actually give it down here to... let's see what Braylon Lucas's stats are looking like. He has C speed, but we don't have a lot of points left over. So let's see if we like the way this looks right now. We don't really need a tight end, so I'm going to give him... I'm not going to go after Greg Riley as hard, at least, and I'm not going to go after Quentin Beck as much. We're going to lower him down to 500, because we don't really need a 62 overall athlete just on the roster right now. Yeah, it is a lot of points, I know. That's the thing about the offseason. You have basically a large pool of points, and you can try and steal guys from their other places. And did we offer scholarships to all of these guys we're going after? It appears that we did. So, yeah, we did do that. Brian Huffman, I'm going to give another 252, and Chad Stevens, I will give another 252, because those are my biggest wants. I want to get those guys pretty bad, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get another commit. How are you guys feeling about this? You guys think this is a good point distribution? I think it's pretty solid. I think that's a good spread for all the recruits we want, but we also give the most to the guys we want the most. Patrick Morris, Brandon Hammond, Brian Huffman and Chad Stevens as well, all guys that we are going after pretty heavily. Yeah, I wish I could get revamped. I've looked into it. On the 360, it's just a lot harder. You've got to actually mod your console, and I have looked into buying a 360 with it already on it, but I haven't found one for a reasonable price or from a reliable place, so I just haven't been able to pull the trigger on that just yet. It just hasn't been something that I've been able to find, as my voice is going to be gone after this live stream. It's unfortunately going to be not too long after this that I probably record the first recap episode for the next season, but that's going to be where our recruiting class ends for this season. I think we have a good shot of getting a few of those guys, at least I hope, sincerely, and we're going to go to signing day, and we're going to pray, because I really don't want to lose out on all of these guys. This is always the most nerve-wracking moment of the offseason, because you don't know what's going to happen, and it could go very good, it could go very bad depending on what happens. So we'll just have to wait and see. It's always a crazy thing. I at least saw South Carolina on there. I saw South Carolina on there 4 times already. I'm trying to watch it and see my name. I think I saw it 4 times. I did see it 4 times. Stephen Moss we missed out on. Braylon Lucas we missed out on. Greg Riley we missed out on. George Burstrand we missed out on. But other than that, we got most of our guys. We got Chad Stevens. We got Brian Huffman, Brandon Hammond, Chris Dobzinski, Patrick Morris, and Quentin Beck. I would have really liked Stephen Moss to be on the roster, but it is what it is. We've got quarterbacks in that position, so it's not like we are, missing a ton. We do have 4 scholarships remaining, unfortunately. Top classes, where did we go to? We got top 30. I'm happy with that. No 5-star prospects, but the first season recruiting is always the hardest. You don't have the most points, so you've got to kind of spread it out a little bit more than you maybe would like. So that's probably why we didn't get anybody in the top, 5-star positions there. Position changes now. Man, we have a lot of seniors. I'm just now realizing how hard next season's going to be, because our quarterback situation right now, after Rattler and Doty graduate, it is Colton Gautier and Braden Davis. Then we're good at running back, but he ended up being a bust. No, this is why I didn't scout. He ended up being terrible. Absolutely terrible. And, man, that stinks. We got a few guys that I didn't even scout, so I'm not exactly sure why. A 3-star guy, a 4-star guy. Chris Dobzinski ended up being really good, and Brandon Robinson ended up being really good as well. So a lot of regression, but also some some improvement there. And we also have a lot of auto-generated guys because I didn't get the class filled out completely. Let's see. Brian Huffman, I believe, was a transfer, so I don't know why he would have changed or went down. But that's okay. Colin Henrich is there, and then I'm thinking of Albert Reese the 4th. We're going to be able to hopefully move them around and get somebody better at that right guard position, because Colin Henrich is not the greatest right now. Left end, we have some good pieces there. Right end, we have some good pieces there. Defensive tackle is Jamal Wilson. He is a -4, unfortunately for us, though. What happened to the left end guy? 66 overall for Tyler Upshaw, and a 75. Rory Patrick stayed at a 75, so he is a complete gem there. Left outside linebacker, we have absolutely nobody playing at the left outside linebacker position, so I'm going to move. I'm going to go ahead and move over. Let's see. We're going to move 2 guys over, probably at most. So let's go with Daryl Ware can move over to that left outside linebacker position, and then we'll also give them this Greg Jackson guy because he is a freshman, so he'll get to grow into his position. And yeah, that's going to leave us a little short-handed at linebacker, but it'll be okay for now. Steve Spencer ended up staying at a 66 overall. We have a lot of good people here, good young players at this cornerback position, so I'm excited to see what they can do. Mike Harris is our best free safety, not even a question. DQ Smith, maybe he can play cornerback. He cannot play cornerback, unfortunately for us. Anthony Rose and Patrick Morris there, who did jump up a little bit. At the strong safety position, we have Cam Smith. I wouldn't mind, honestly, moving like a, Cam Smith or David Spalding over to the cornerback position. Unfortunately for us, they fall off the face of the planet if you do that. And we should have 2 athletes at least, I think. Yeah, so we have Julius Kenry, who, he finished 75 overall. Originally looked like a 77. Unfortunately for us, he did not finish at a 77. And he is going to be best at running back or quarterback. Only problem is we don't really need either of those positions right now. But what is his speed? I wonder what his speed is. He's got an 86 speed and an 86 acceleration. And this guy, Quentin Beck, actually ended up being pretty solid for us. He went from a 62 overall to, if we put him at a receiver, he is a 70 overall. So I'm sticking that guy at receiver. I'm pretty happy with that. And Julius Kenry, where do you guys think we should stick this guy? I mean, I guess we could say quarterback. That's looking like the best spot because, do we really need a 69 overall receiver? Maybe you could say we do, but we've got a lot of young pieces. So I don't see it helping us that much. Quarterback, I guess it is. Man, I don't know where we should put him. It's either quarterback, running back, or receiver. Yeah, you're probably right. We probably will go quarterback, redshirt him, and then when the other people graduate, he'll have a chance to play. That's what we're going to stick with, and that's what I'm going to confirm. I think that's a pretty solid all-around roster, and then we're going to go to training results. Obviously, everybody will get a chance to get better. Hopefully they do at least get a little better, I would hope. I don't think we're going to have to worry about them getting worse, at least, in my opinion. That shouldn't be a problem we have. In training results, you will see we have Cam Smith getting better, but he was already a 97, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Then we have... So at quarterback position, Spencer Rattler hits 90 overall. He went up by 5. Luke Doty up by 6. Braden Davis, freshman redshirt, up by 5. And Colton Gautier up by 5 as well. So there's a competition right there to look at going forward. Marshawn Lloyd went up to an 89 overall. He went up 7. Juju McDowell up 5. Lavosa Carroll up 5. And Rashad Amos up. How much was that? Rashad Amos went up 4 only to a 77. Wide receiving core, Antoine Wells up to a 5. Corey Rucker up to a 86 by up 5. And Landon Sampson up 4. He is going to be a good receiver, hopefully, for us for years to come. Jaheim Bell hits 90 overall. Travion Kenyon hits 84 overall. We're just going to fly through a few of these positions. Vershawn Lee is going to hit at 85 overall, 5 by Trey Jones there. And John Darius Morgan is a 75 overall. Hank Manos, 84. Colin Henrich at right guard, a 78. Albert Reese IV, 83 overall. The new transfer there, left in Jordan Birch, he goes up 5 to a 90. And we should have, one more season with him, which is this upcoming season. We've got a lot of building to do on our defensive side of the ball, that's to say the least. I'm most worried really about the cornerback position, but O'Donnell Fortune goes up to an 81, Marcellus Dow 85, Justin Birdsong, the new freshman, that is a big get right there. He is a 79 overall. Keenan Nelson 78 overall, Emery Floyd 77, Kajwan Blanks, Anthony Rose at a 79, DQ Smith a 78, and strong safety Cam Smith, David Spalding, and Nick Eminori at an 86. I feel like we kind of have to get one of these guys to start because I don't want to have David Spalding just be a backup at an 86 overall. But we'll have to see how that goes there. So training pretty much goes the same way you would expect it to. We've only got a few more steps here. Thank you guys for joining me for this live stream so far. We don't have much longer. We've got to cut players, and then we'll get into the preseason, and then that's really about it as far as the roster goes. It appears we don't have to cut any players. We're actually under the limit, so we're good on that. I mean, okay, I'm not going to complain. Custom conferences, I think we're good. I'm going to check it, but I'm pretty sure we're decent from that. I don't think we need to put any custom conferences in there. I think we should be good on that. Of course, it's going to take a while to load. This 360 is a little old, so I wouldn't expect the best speeds. As we basically are almost done with this first live stream. If you have enjoyed your time, I mean, hit the like button while you're here. It helps me out a ton. Thank you, everybody who has been here so far in this live stream. It's been a fun first one. Even though I'm going to lose my voice going into tomorrow, probably after I wake up, it's been a fun first off season. I think we're going to skip through this and hop right into the preseason, and that is where I shall basically do a few things on this off-season live stream and the preseason, and then we will also end the live stream overall. I'm going to redshirt players on screen. I'm going to plan the schedule on screen, and then we're good from there, in my opinion. Maybe we'll do the depth chart on screen, or I might do that as just a lone video, kind of a welcome to the roster. First off, we're going to go around, like I said, and redshirt players. Thank you again, the man you shall call football. It's been great. I mean, dude, you've been so supportive of this series. I really appreciate it, man. Just for the channel in general, it really, I do appreciate it. Man, I didn't realize Julius Canary is a junior. Oh, that hurts a little bit. I forgot he was a JUCO player. Not even gonna lie. So we have, yeah, this guy is slow as molasses. I mean, geez, that's crazy. Then we have a few really bad fullbacks. We've got receivers here. Basically what we're going to do, we're just going to redshirt these final three guys down here, and we're just going to have the other guys play. Then at the tight end position, we'll redshirt him. Not a lot of options going on here to redshirt on the offensive line. I would like to, but if there's no room to, we're not going to. Defensive line, we can afford to do that, so we are going to redshirt both of those guys, and we're also going to redshirt pretty much most of our freshmen that aren't going to be getting playing time are going to redshirt, because if you don't redshirt them, they're basically just going to be guaranteed to transfer. Like Patrick Morris would transfer if we didn't, so I'm just going to go through and redshirt all of those guys. And we are now going to look at the schedule, which is pretty much the last thing we're going to do. Dang. Oh, man. A+ schedule. We have some big hitters this next season. Man. All right, so first of all, North Carolina is taking place of this East Carolina game, probably. They're number 6 in the country. I don't know if we should schedule North Carolina. Oh, man. So our out-of-conference games right now, we've got Clemson, the bye week before them. Then we've got Ohio, which I'll make that a bye week right now. And then we have North Carolina rounding out the out-of-conference games. So I think what we're going to do, we will schedule, let's see, we're going to have the bye week there. We'll schedule a easier team here, like it was an Ohio team, or like a, if we put an FCS team, they're going to go down a lot. Yeah, so we'll just keep it as like a, not a Houston, because they're actually decent. I mean, we don't play Ohio much. We'll keep it with Ohio. And then we'll go down here, and we will actually go to play North Carolina. I mean, I say we do it at a neutral site game. Why not? There's a lot of options here. We got the Cowboys Stadium, because that makes sense. Should we use any of these? I mean, we could do Florida, Georgia. That wouldn't make too much sense. Do they have the Panthers Stadium in here? It doesn't appear that they do. I was hoping maybe they do. Yeah, that's why I was looking for the Panthers field, but I guess maybe they don't have it in here. Unless I'm blind. Let's see, we've got the Denver. Yeah, this is Denver Stadium. We have what I believe is the Bears Stadium. Then we have some stadium in Florida or Georgia. Then we have, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, wait, let's do it at MetLife Stadium. That makes a ton of sense. That's just going to be a fun matchup there. I mean, I guess we'll just do it here. We can just say that it's in North Carolina. It's at Charlotte at the Panthers Stadium. Unfortunately, I don't have an option for that, it appears. Unless they included it like up here, but it doesn't look like they did. I would have liked them to, but unfortunately they did not. And unfortunately for us, neutral site game. Yeah, I think that's our best option. Texas Kickoff could be cool too. That's in Reliance Stadium. I'm not exactly... Where is Reliance Stadium? It's somewhere in Texas, obviously. But I don't know. That is the NRG Stadium, so that's where the Texans play. That could be cool. I wish they had like the Chick-fil-A kickoff game, but I think I'm going to stick it with the Everbank Field from the Florida-Georgia matchup, because let's see where that is. That probably is going to make the most sense for this matchup. I mean, it's not really, a matchup that makes sense in the first place, or an area that makes sense in the first place, but it's probably going to make the most sense for this, game at least, or for this dynasty. And yeah, definitely going to have our work cut out for us. Thankfully, like Mr. Graves said, we don't have to worry about getting injured because we aren't going to be playing on MetLife Field. Yeah, they be getting injured all the time on that field. It's crazy. But we play 3 ranked teams in a row to start the season. Then we have a break, and then we have more. So it's not going to be that easy next year to replicate what we did last year. Do I have an open week still? I think I put Ohio back on there. So yeah, we should be good. Thank you though for looking out for that. I think I'm going to stick with Ohio on here. I mean, we could play like a Georgia Southern. That would make more sense, but I think Ohio is cool, at least as a random matchup against a non-conference team. That makes a little bit of sense, unless we have, we don't have like a, I was going to say if we have like East Carolina on here or something, but they're not on here, so we're not going to be able to do that matchup, and that is pretty much going to be the matchup or how this season is going to look going into the custom schedules, and we're done with that now. And yeah, that's, I guess, is going to be it for this first off-season live stream. It's been a lot of fun. I had fun making it. I'm going to have no voice whatsoever over the next few days, but I thank you to everybody who has tuned in. Thank you to you two guys that have been commenting constantly, and for joining it. Yeah, was it the Belk Bowl? Let's see. Yep, they do have it. But maybe you can't play in it twice? That was a good catch, because I didn't even see that. So what if we do like... Let's see, what if we do... No, I'm not keeping it like that. But, like, if we do it like that, can we play in the Belk Bowl? Oh, man. I don't... This doesn't make much sense how you can't play in it, but they all actually do have it in the game. And say something in the chat if you're seeing it. I'm just overlooking it, but I don't think I'm seeing it. Yeah, I don't see it. So we're not gonna keep those changes. Let me go back in and make sure it looks fine. But for whatever reason, this is in the Bank of America Stadium. That is the Panther Stadium, but you just can't access it in this game. It's weird, but I guess it makes sense. Maybe you just can't play in it twice a year, and they already have us playing in it, so I really don't know how that works. Maybe I'll get it fixed. If I do, I'll post something on my whoops, did not mean to do that. Whoops, did not mean to do it again. Maybe I'll post something on the YouTube community tab. But anyways, I'm pretty much going to end the live stream there. I thank you guys for joining me. If you did enjoy this live stream, hopefully next time you'll join me again. I thank you to everybody who communicated and you know, was in the comments or the chat section. It's been a lot of fun. Basically, I'll have a video out in a few days with the recap, and then we'll get back into the series. So I will talk to you guys later, and I will see you guys in the comments section of my next video, hopefully. Adios, everybody.